I love fantasy novels, but I'm not very good at remembering names. I'm not gonna lie, there are times reading this genre where I feel that I'm being tested, and often I fail that test. As much as I love an epic story, when the story starts with characters hundreds of miles away on different continents slowly working together toward the convergence 1,000 pages later, that is one kind of great fantasy story, but it's not the only kind of great fantasy story. There's also room for smaller, more intimate stories, which are more tied to a single character or a small cast and their perspective. The best example of this style is Robin Hobb in the realm of the Elderlings. And then unbelievably happy to see that Hobb has been going viral on TikTok, because for me, these are the best fantasy novels ever written. In Assassin's Apprentice, we to the story of Fitz, a king's assassin, and this story is told in first person. Fitz meets a lot of people, but the whole story is all him. And in the process, he becomes potentially the most developed character in all of literature. We go so deep into this one guy's psychology. I actually like this series so much that I'm planning an in-depth close read of it within the next year or so. Please follow if that's something you'd be interested in. Wolfe is a classic, a giant of late 20th century science fiction. Another great first-person fantasy novel that I'm aware of is The Wizard Knight by Gene Wolfe. Mostly famous for the Book of the New Sun, which actually is also remarkable. It's just science fantasy, not fantasy. The Knight is a slightly lesser known series. It's the ultimate portal fantasy, the story of a young boy who gets transported somehow mysteriously into a fantasy world. This young boy is given the body of this big, powerful adult, and he goes on a rampage, just beating the crap out of people. But this takes him on a remarkable journey through one of the strangest worlds in all of fantasy. It's a world inspired by Norse mythology with different levels up upon some great world tree. And in the process, we see some of the strangest scenes in all of fantasy. This thing will absolutely bend your mind. Wolfe is famous for writing strange, mind-bending novels, but I think this series is actually even stranger than the Book of the New Sun. And in some ways, it's his most complicated work. Very worth checking out. And then, of course, there's The Name of the Wind. Patrick Rothfuss's novel took the entire world by storm like 15 years ago. It's the story of Kavoth, a magician who goes on a remarkable journey. I think I read both books within just a few days. However, there is a downside, and if you follow the science fiction and fantasy community, you will know. This is an incredible series, but it's not clear whether Rothfuss will finish it. Despite that, millions of people have read these books and they seem to think it's worth it, so I'll put the suggestion out there. Another series that I'm reading right now is The Dagger and Coin by Daniel Abraham. I don't understand how Abraham is so obscure, considering that he is also the co-writer of The Expanse, the most popular science fiction series in the modern world. Dagger and Coin is a series that he wrote by himself, and it's fascinating because while it is a Game of Thrones style epic fantasy, it's really, the whole story is just about 4 people. So while it's bigger than these first-person stories by, say, Robin Hobb or Rothfus, it stays remarkably focused, remarkably tight for an epic fantasy story that runs over 2,500 pages. In the process, we also get some of the most developed characters in fantasy. This is a world put together with remarkable care and an unusual amount of precision. Also makes some remarkable things. For example, rather than just being about war, a lot of the novel is about money and banking and how that is how you're going to win your big conflicts, not just fighting. After all, you can't put an army together and march them towards my enemy's fortified city if you can't feed your soldiers and you feed them with money. It's a brilliant focus for a novel, and I'm glad that somebody has finally done it. And one last writer that I would tack onto this list is Carol Berg. Berg is often compared to Hobb, and a lot of people seem to really love her. I read one of her series a few years ago. I came away from it with slightly mixed feelings. Berg gives us this very well-realized first-person narrator. We get an epic fantasy quest, and she's done this in quite a few different series. I didn't have quite as much luck with the series of hers that I read, but for anyone who's interested in this kind of novel, Berg would be a great writer to explore. She's been writing for 30 years, people seem to love her, and you might as well check her out. Interestingly, this is not a very big list, and it's not a complete list, but it is already more complete than you would think. Actually, novels that have this focus on a single character or just a smaller cast of characters are rarer than you would expect. It's hard to find them. So I'd really appreciate your help. Do you have any novels like this you'd love to suggest? Please help me out. I'm always looking, and I can't be the only one.